I hate being fucking married.
Marriage is not beneficial to women.
Women are out here asking how marriage is beneficial to women actually. And it makes you wonder that how is marriage beneficial to us women? Because women do give a lot, like we give a lot in marriage. Like you are literally a sacrificial lamb in marriage. Yeah, you sacrifice so much your time, your body, your energy, your initiative, everything. You put it in marriage. And sometimes you're quite unfortunate to end up with spouses or partners who do not appreciate you and what you bring to the table and what you do. And you still get men asking you questions like, what are you bringing to the table? Yeah. Anyway, you guys, let's go listen to these women and what they think about women and if it's actually beneficial to women or not.
I just saw a post that said that if marriage actually benefited women, men would never let them do it. It's a compelling argument. I can't lie.
I'm a happily married woman, and I tell women all the time not to get married. You know why? Because I was 24 when I got married. I was a baby. My frontal lobe was not fully developed. I didn't know anything. I got fucking lucky. Okay? I got lucky, and I've been transparent about that from the get-go. Because statistically speaking, we know how women end up in most cis-het relationships, okay? It ain't good for them. It's not good for them. I got lucky, okay? I got lucky. At 24, you think I knew what I was looking for in a good husband and a good life partner? And who would eventually be a good father to my children? No, I sure didn't. But I can look back 14 years ago as a woman, as a married mother who has a great marriage, who has an equitable partner. I can now tell women, hey, listen to the married woman. Listen to the happily married woman. If I'm happily married and I'm telling you, don't do it, it's not worth it, what do you think an unhappily married woman is going to tell you? It's not. For most women, it's not worth it. Because for most women, you will end up doing the majority of the domestic labor and the child care. You'll probably still end up working. And then you'll outgrow your husband. That is the unfortunate truth of it. You want to sit here and tell women that they can't share this information to other women because they're married? Shut the fuck up. Shut up, dude. Okay? You want to listen to a single person? This is the same thing. Like if I was single and telling women this, you would tell me I was bitter and single and lonely. I'm not. I've been happily married for 12 years and I wouldn't recommend it. Because that's coming from a very, very privileged place. Because most women don't have what I have, okay? So listen to the married women, the happily married women that are telling you, don't do it, babe. It ain't worth it. Because your chances are you're not going to get lucky like me. That's just, it is what it is. But don't sit here and say, we can't teach about patriarchal things if we're married. Don't.
Marriage is not a super beneficial idea for Russian women. That's why so many women decide to go out from the marriage. Now divorce rate is around 80%, and in most cases women decide to leave, not a man. So why do women want to leave from the marriage in Russia? First reason, that husband in Russia is not considering as a huge help with children. So normally mother do all the job alone, and fathers are normally very surprised if they have to go for a walk with child or go to the shop with the child. So they are not helping at all. So if you want to choose between your husband and living with your mother, definitely living with your mother, because your mother will take care of your children with you, and your husband will be sitting on a sofa watching TV and waiting for you to do all the job. Now things are slightly changed. Some husbands realize that they need to help these children, but this is very slow process, and most of men are still considering women to take care of all the children. At the same time, a woman is working at the same level as men. So she is working, then she is taking all care of the children and have no help, and she is asking herself, why do I need to do all this job? And then she leave and start to live alone or start to live with her mother because it's simply easier. And they only stay in marriage in two cases. First, if they really love their husband, and husband also try to help them. So if they have really good relationship, this is my case. Second, if their husband is really good provider, so if he has a really good job, he can support her at least financially, so she can hire somebody to help with the children. So in this case, marriage is also strong. So in other cases, women just leave from there.
Another reason to not get married is that when your husband decides that he actually doesn't want to be with you anymore, he may just kill you. So you could dodge that bullet quite literally, but also figuratively, by just never getting married.
So a couple of days ago, someone actually asked me, what is it that women benefit from getting married? And I answered, nothing. There's nothing that women benefit from getting married. There's nothing that both the people that are married are benefiting from marriage. Because you see, where there is love, there is constant giving. In love, you give, you don't benefit. Scripture says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. He gave, he loved and gave. And that is what marriage is about. We give in marriage. It's about giving. It's about giving peace. You give forgiveness. You give love. You give respect. You give because you loved. Just like God loved the world and gave his son. The worldly way of how women should be benefiting in marriage, they're not there. There are no benefits according to how society wants us to benefit. But the godly benefits, they are definitely there.
I get mad because they've been conditioned to believe that it should be our honor and our duty and our joy in life to be their wives. And they truly think that there's so much benefit in marriage for women and there's not enough benefit for the man. But the contrary has been my experience. I've seen that, whether or not it was beneficial for him, I can't really say, but I can honestly say that I'm doing a lot better now that I'm not married. And when I say I'm doing a lot better, I mean just that the state of my nervous system is way more relaxed. I don't feel in fear, and I'm not always clenching and avoiding and tensing. And this was I'm not saying that this was all his doing, because some of it was my previous patterns, but I definitely think that living with someone who has even just like small negative things to say about you, even if they don't verbalize it, it will be communicated non-verbally through their actions and through the way that they talk to you. And I feel as though as human beings, we're not meant to live under the same roof with someone who doesn't really vibe with us, like with someone who has some real criticisms about who we are as a person. Like, that takes energy out of us, even if we aren't able to acknowledge it.
I hate being fucking married. I long for the day to be single again. The only thing that's causing me to stay and stick it out is because I've been a housewife for 10 years. And to get back out there in the workforce with a mental illness, some fears that I have. But I literally do hate being married.
So I don't know this person's situation at all. I don't know anything about their relationship. But I can tell you that research shows that about 69% of conflict in relationships is unresolvable. and that oftentimes leads to a lot of frustration. And the problem isn't necessarily the unresolved conflict. The problem is that people don't know how to fight fair or find compromise through that unresolved conflict, which leads to more friction and ultimately more frustration, to a point where people may want out even if a situation can be resolved. If you're in a situation like this and you need some resources, comment the word growth and I'll send them to your DM.
I made a video about how I don't think that marriage is beneficial to women nowadays, and it has people pressed. But I do want to address some recurring comments that I'm seeing, because there are common themes in how people are responding to this. A lot of people are commenting around children, and this is so frustrating because people are assuming that all women want children, which isn't the case. And we really need to address that. Like, we need to stop assuming that all women want children. We need to stop assuming that all women can even have children, because some can, and it is an incredibly sensitive topic. And some of you are talking in a way that makes it seem that women only become women when they have children. And that is deeply hurtful to some people. And it's not the case at all. Having children does not make you a woman. And not wanting children does not make you selfish. In fact, the reason that I don't want children is because I love children too much to bring them into the world right now. Like, do you even see the state of the world? Not to mention that there are literally millions of children all across the world who are orphans, who have experienced violence and abuse, who are starving, who deserve love and support just as much as a child that you pop out of your own vajayjay. So as of right now, I don't want children, but in the future, I do plan on supporting children. And in fact, the reason that I want to prioritize my career and my growth is because when I imagine my highest potential, what I dream for myself is to have so many resources that I can distribute it to all the women and children in the world who are helpless. That's my goal in life. There's people talking about legacy. That's the legacy I want to build for myself. I don't need a man to do that for me. I'm going to do that with or without a husband. And there's some people talking about how I'm like destroying the institution of marriage and like feeding into Western brainwashing. First of all, I am the last person on earth you should be talking to about Western brainwashing, because literally half my videos are about dismantling that brainwashing. The reason women are choosing not to get married or have children is not because of Western brainwashing. It's quite literally because of the experiences of the long line of women before us who were abused and neglected. We no longer want it because we have seen the detriment that it has caused to the woman we love most. And a lot of women, grown women who have experienced marriage and children and raising children, are now warning younger women to not do that to themselves. I went to Jordan last year to visit my family for the first time in a long time, the first time in 15 years. And I was going there literally dreading the conversations that people were going to bring up about why I'm not married or when I'm going to get married, because at the time I was just about to turn 26, which is considered pretty old for some people. And I actually heard the opposite rhetoric. Women, even overseas, were telling me, you're so lucky to have the choice of whether or not you want to get married. Even my grandma, my dad's mom, who is so traditional, who I was positive was going to hound me about marriage, literally told me I am so lucky to have the choice. She told me to not rush into it, to let it happen when it happens, and to enjoy my freedom while I can. She told me, literally in front of my dad, ضحكوا علينا, which means they fooled us. They married us off when we were too young to even know anything about the world and when we didn't know any better. And again, she's very traditional. She was a stay-at-home mom her entire life. She never worked a day in her life, and she popped out 13 babies. And she never really complained. Like, I never assumed that she was unhappy, but this was 1 month before she passed away that she finally admitted that if she could go back, she would have done things differently. So the reason that a lot of young women have this perspective nowadays is because we are learning from the woman before us. If you're a man, first of all, do not speak on behalf of women because you have no clue what women go through. Even what you think you know about your mother, you don't even know. But girls, we hear everything. We see everything because women discuss this stuff amongst themselves. So we have seen and heard what women have gone through, and we don't want that for ourselves, and that's fine. And for a lot of us, like, we still want that. We still crave it. There's a part of us that hopes and dreams that one day we will get that fairy tale marriage, but we have also come to terms with reality. We also recognize that is just not realistic most of the time. There's also a lot of people saying like, oh, well, if you choose right, you'll never have to worry about this. But the problem is a lot of women thought they chose right and they didn't realize how bad it was until years down the line. And the good options are rare to begin with. Like, no one's denying that true love does exist. I never denied that. I never denied that some marriages are healthy and successful, but it's not common. And there's nothing wrong with not wanting to sacrifice ourselves, to sacrifice our careers, our hobbies, our health, our social life, literally every aspect of our lives to take care of a husband and children. Especially, again, when a lot of women nowadays are working. And for those who are saying, like, well, women don't have to work, like, what if the man provides for her? We have also seen how dangerous it is to rely on a man 100% financially. Because we've seen a lot of women who did that out of necessity. Like, they literally had no choice but to rely on men in the past. And that left them stuck, that left them trapped, and even when they wanted to leave, they couldn't because they didn't have the resources to. So a lot of women nowadays, if we have the option to work, we're going to, because we can't risk putting all our trust into a man that might screw us over one day. Even if I get married, I will always have my own income source because I will never give anybody that much power over me. Because I've seen from other women what men do when they have that kind of power. And finally, your family is so much more than just your husband and children. You have family beyond that. And you can get companionship and love and support from other people. You don't need a man to do that. And I'm not at all perpetuating the idea that everyone should just be independent and not care about the people around them. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I believe in building community. I believe in sharing resources and supporting each other and uplifting your communities. But you don't need to be married to do that. And you don't need to be married to have a community. It's okay for us to prioritize ourselves, but we should still be caring for the people around us. But we shouldn't have to sacrifice ourselves so we can take care of a man. Also, a lot of people talking about how I say the word woman. I don't know. Okay, you guys, I speak 2 languages. I always thought it was woman. It's women, I guess. I literally couldn't care less. But it's very telling that a lot of men are hyperfixating on how I say women instead of what the actual message was.
Do not ever make marriage the goal. Because when your goal is to obtain a piece of paper, you will start to date based on what looks good on paper. Because you need to prioritize what comes with marriage, not the idea of being married, not hitting the milestone. Because when you're looking for just hitting a milestone, like, oh, it's just time to get married and it's just the time to do that, then you're going to choose someone based on what they can give you. Oh, this person's going to make me look good. This person's going to give me status. This person's going to take care of me. But marriage is really about what you're willing to do for the other person. Marriage is about taking care of them when they get in a freak accident or when they have surgery or when they get sick and they start to inconvenience your life. Are you going to sacrifice and inconvenience yourself for the sake of this person? Or do you just not care about them the moment that they can't give you anything because maybe they're disabled or they're sick or they're recovering? It's about those things. It's about marrying the person who you want to do those things for, because this is the person that's going to be with you through the death of your parents, through the death of your loved ones, maybe even your siblings, because you never really know how the cards are going to lay out for you. And so when you're going through some of the worst times of your life, who do you want holding your hand at those funerals? Who do you want to lay down with during those times. Because if you're choosing people for the wrong reasons, when those times come around, you will then regret the person that you chose. You will resent them for being there. And that's not really an act of self-love, to put yourself in a situation where you're already making the hardest times of your life harder based on who you chose to have beside you. And a lot of people are making this choice based off someone that they've known for a sliver amount of time. You are committing this chunk of your life to someone that you've known this long. But relationship nowadays, too many people are like, oh, I need to meet my husband. I need to meet someone I'm going to marry. But it's some of the most selfish people that are so quick to try to get married because they're just trying to find someone that's going to fit their life. They're trying to find someone that's going to take care of them, to see what they'll do for them and the family. But they're not even questioning their contribution. They're not asking themselves, do I want to take care of this person? Like, if this person got sick first, would I resent this person for what I had to do, or would it be an honor? Because as someone who helped take care of my grandma on hospice, it was an honor to take care of her. Even though it's hard, I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. It's an honor. But when you're taking care of someone you resent, it's not an honor. It's an obligation, and you will resent them even more, which is going to affect the quality of care that you give them. So now when they're at a low point in their lives, when they're weak and they can't do anything, you're just going to add more suffering. So this is why it's important to be very intentional with the person that you choose to commit your entire life to, because only about half of your commitment to them is going to be in your youth, where you can do things for yourself. But the other half, you're going to have a completely different set of needs that you wouldn't be able to have given yourself in your youth. You have to think long term, because if you had those lens on, you would be a lot more slow and intentional with who you chose for yourself and also your children.
Man will fuck any woman, but who he marries is one who gives him a capitalistic advantage. A lover is fun. A wife is a business decision. That's the difference between a wife and a lover. Good girl continues to get scammed. The bad bitch understands the rules and plays to win. Romance is a joint venture between patriarchy and capitalism. Romance was never meant for women. It was created by men for men. If you're out there trying to date as a woman without understanding the rules of how the world works and how people work, and more than anything, how does the mind of a person work when the whole world has centered you and your gender, the world is built around your convenience and comfort. Male privilege? Women are just a puzzle piece to that equation. 2 things you need to do: go to my YouTube for a deep dive on this topic, and second, join my Power in Romance workshop. Both are in the link in my bio.
You want to know how I really feel? Don't get mad. You're gonna get mad. You want to know how I really feel? I feel like you shouldn't get married. And I know I've already said this, but whenever I go to give advice on all these horror stories that I see, whether it be with like Hailey Bieber or other people, or that trend that's going around right now where it's like, oh, but there used to be a time. I really wish women would stop getting married. And there's always a conversation that's being had around like SW, and how like SW sets women back, and how it feeds into the patriarchy. And just because a woman chooses to participate in it doesn't mean that it's not still harmful, and doesn't mean that it's empowering. And that's a whole nother conversation. But if we're going to say that about SW, I think, this is my little opinion, that's probably going to make you mad, but I feel like the same can be said for marriage. Marriage is an antiquated idea that I believe oppresses women, and unrefutably has a history and an origination in the oppression of women. So I feel like we're trying to continue to get something to work that is so flawed from its inception, and it's not going to work. Okay? I don't know what the answers are. It's not something that I personally consider, because I wrote off getting married since I was a little girl. I put together the pieces of what marriage was, and I was like, oh yeah, no, thank you. And it just hurts my heart. Initially my stance was like, some women, that's really what they want in their lives. I am more of a choice feminist in that way. I'm like, that's what they want. I want them to be able to have the freedom to make choices and to choose the kind of life that they want, and that is what they want, so it's great. But then I see these videos of these young women who are buying into this fairy tale that I believe is not, it's a lie a little bit, right? And that sounds really cynical, but it doesn't have to be cynical because life is beautiful and there's so many other things that you can want out of life. But I just feel like with the whole marriage thing, the odds are not stacked in your favor. And I think we need to kind of like dispel the idea a little bit and kind of rethink the way that we see marriage.
There is nobody on this earth more miserable than married women. And not only does science back it up, I just want you to find a woman who's been married to the same man for the past 10 years. Look her dead in her face and see if you see a soul behind those eyes. I bet you don't. Ask all the young single women especially with no kids. Ask them how married women treat us. Married women treat women who have independence and freedom like shit, because married women and women who want to keep a man are so desperate to buy into the patriarchy that any woman around them that doesn't do it, they fucking burn them at the stake. The girls who get it, you know what I'm saying? If it's not your husband's goal to make your life easier, it is his goal to make your life harder. It's to make it harder for you. Because the best thing that you can have in a relationship is not only two people that love each other and value each other and respect each other, but also they just genuinely want to make your life easier. They do not want to add any hardship to your life, because they know that if you are uncomfortable or inconvenienced, in turn they will be uncomfortable and inconvenienced, and they don't want that for themselves, so they don't want that for you. A person that is willing to inconvenience themselves to make sure that you don't benefit is a huge red flag, especially in a marriage. This woman said that her and her husband were on the way to pick up their daughter from the airport, and they're driving her car, and he realizes that she needs gas, but they drive right past the gas station. So she figures, okay, there's plenty of gas stations on the way. We'll get gas at another time. So she soon realizes that they never stop for gas. So she says, well, how much gas is left? And he's like, this is not my car. I'm not paying attention to that. Red flag number one. Anyway, I'm not paying attention to that. This is your car. And she's like, okay, well, how much gas is left? Like, are we going to make it? And she notices that they have less than 50 miles of gas left, and they have more than 50 miles to get home. So then she's like, well, what were you going to do? Like, we just never stopped. What were you going to do? He's like, I was going to just let you run out of gas, and you would have to call AAA. So he would rather everybody be stranded on the side of the road of a potentially dangerous highway, because I don't know what area they live in, but for me, a drive to the airport is all highway. Potentially dangerous situation that you're putting your wife in and your daughter in because you did not want to stop to put gas in her car because you felt it was her responsibility. The situation was not about gas. You have a spiteful partner. And I've heard women tell stories like this before. Men that forget to, fill up their stocking for Christmas, or forget to let them know that the kids have to be picked up early, or just little things that they can do to inconvenience you. A problem for me is a problem for my husband. A problem for my husband becomes a problem for me. So it is in our best interest to make sure that everything runs seamlessly. And if your partner does not view things that way, you have a bigger problem.
On a video where I say that marriage is not beneficial to women, I've had a couple women come and say, well, it's beneficial to me because I don't pay bills. You think it's beneficial, but it's still not. The only way him paying all the bills is beneficial is if he can afford to pay somebody to cook and clean. If you're doing the cooking and the cleaning, then you're doing the cooking and the cleaning for free room and board. If somebody came to me and said, hey, you're going to cook and clean and take care of my kids, and in exchange, I'm going to give you a place to stay, I would say, you know what, maybe if I was a college student, that might be a good plan, but I'm going to pass on that because that sounds like hell. Especially when I know how much chefs make, cleaners, nannies, etc. Especially when I know how much they make a year. And you want me to do it for free $99 for a roof over my head? Nah, no. You better be a real housewife. You're going to lunch. You are taking girls trips. You are going shopping. You have a nanny. You have a chef. You have a driver. But don't come up in my comment section telling me that marriage is benefiting you because you are the free labor. It's benefiting you if he's paying you for every single job title you hold, and he's paying you the cost of living for each of those job titles. But it's not beneficial in exchange for room and board.
Marriage won't benefit women unless you marry the right men. As for men, they can marry any women and still get benefit from the marriage. T, such a great comment and something that I overlooked in my original video, so thank you. Of course, there are men that are not in advantageous relationships, okay? They exist. But overwhelmingly, I'm seeing women who have actually been in relationships and been materially worse off during and after talking about their experience. And I see a lot of men just talking about hypothetical scenarios where women are out gold digging their non-existent gold. So it doesn't seem to make sense when you think about how women want to marry the right guy. Men don't have as many requirements for women. As partners, it's just more about timing. But they don't have as many requirements because there's also so much less consequence for them if they mistreat women. I mean, even if you just look at the Haley and Selena Justin saga, everyone is talking about the women. No one is talking about the man that has mistreated and disrespected not just those two women, but multiple women in his past. Those women, I don't know much about them personally. I'm sure they have their own personality flaws. Both of them were just unfortunate enough to have their heart broken by the same guy, and it's inconsequential to him, you know. Yes, there are situations where men have to pay child support if they get divorced, whatever, but most of the time women initiate divorces. Single, unmarried women are happier than married women, and it's usually women that are at a greater risk of poverty after a divorce. So I think for most women, better to have no husband than have a bad one.
I read a divorce quote the other day that absolutely shook me to my core. And it said, if marriage was beneficial for women, they would have taken it from us.
I made a post about how women don't benefit from marriage and the incels went crazy. In this video, we're going to go through all the reasons. But let's start here. The consensus from most men in the comments were that women do benefit from marriage through divorce. So they seem to be in agreement that the best part of marriage for women is leaving. If that were true, which it's not, I think that would make my point. Let's go through finances, child custody, and health. Is marriage worth it for women? The benefits mostly go to men. Currently, over 50% of households have a dual income. I read this as women are taking half of their own stuff. In those households, despite a dual income, women are still doing the lion's share of domestic labor and emotional labor. In a divorce, women's income drops on average by 20%. Divorced men see an average of 30% increase in their income. Post-divorce, 20% of women find themselves in poverty compared to 11% of men. Let's talk alimony. Alimony has been gender neutral since 1979. It's the breadwinner who pays. In the 1960s, 25% of men were paying alimony post-divorce. Today, that number is 10%. And I know the math is right here, but I'm going to say it anyway. 90% of marriages end with no alimony whatsoever. 90 to 95% of the time that alimony is paid, it was settled out of court, meaning a judge didn't weigh in and didn't order it. In the cases where a judge orders it, there's a large discrepancy between the spouse's income and assets. Short marriages are less likely to get any alimony. Judges are looking at if one spouse sacrificed their career or potential earnings. And so if they didn't, alimony wouldn't be awarded. Now let's talk child custody. Studies show that when fathers ask for custody, they get it. Conversely, as fathers tend not to ask for custody, they don't get it. Most custody cases are settled out of court. For absolute clarity, most fathers are giving custody to the mothers, not losing custody. Do you see the difference? Now we're going to talk about health, and that will lead me into my last point. Why do women even want to get married if it doesn't benefit them? You know when married women nag their partners? You really going to have that third beer? Babe, I think you need to go get that mole looked at with the doctor. Men seem to hate that. And yet it is the direct reason why married men live longer lives and healthier lives than unmarried men. I've read that men resist marriage because they know that it requires a substantial behavior change on their part. They associate marriage with increased responsibilities and potential financial loss. And yet, those things aren't true. Our culture sets expectations high for women and low for men. Getting married has historically brought a large change in how men see themselves and how they behave. If marriage has been a particularly strong signal of change in men's committed behavior, it would explain the stereotype of women pushing for marriage and men resisting. Tell me what you think.
Marriage is not beneficial to women at all. Studies have shown and proven that the happiest people is childless, single women. And men, they live longer, they have better health, and they are the happiest when they are in a marriage. There's a reason behind that. I heard a man say on here that so what if a woman works the same amount of hours as the man? So what that she got to come home and cook and clean and rear their children? So what? That is how they really feel, ladies. They want a dictatorship. They want control. They don't want to be a partner in the relationship with you. They want to be able to just go to work and then come home and sit on their ass and not do absolutely nothing, but they want you to give birth to their children and take care of their children and take care of them and all their issues and their problems and basically be a second mother. They want to go from their mama's house to your house and you play their mama. That is not love. That is not relationship. That is not partnership. And that is something that you don't need nor deserve. You deserve a partner who actually wants to bring something to your life and not extract your labor for free, because that's all they really want. And somebody to hunch on every night. They want you to do all of that and then help pay the bills, but they're traditional men and they have a problem with modern women. Absolutely not. Marriage ain't beneficial to us.
I know the TikTok sheikhs are gonna come for my neck, but I don't really believe in marriage. Not in modern day, at least, because I would say that the majority of the time it doesn't work out. And even when it doesn't end in divorce, it ends in absolutely hating and resenting each other towards the end of life. And the reality is that in most marriages, women get the short end of the stick. Like, women are the ones who have to sacrifice their careers, their health, their well-being to take care of their husband and the children. And in modern days, a lot of women are still working at the same time as doing all of that other stuff that has always been an obligation for women. I'm not like a psychopath, so there's still a part of me that like craves it. Like, I yearn for it, but logically, I just don't really care for it because I don't think that it's gonna benefit me, honestly. I feel like it's actually going to stunt my growth. It's going to stunt my career. It's just going to stunt me in so many ways, and I'm going to grow to hate that person. I didn't have to be in a marriage to have observed that in literally hundreds of marriages of the people around me. There's also a part of me that's just skeptical about the idea of being with one person for the rest of your life. And because so many people go into marriages with such high expectations, like they think it's going to significantly improve their lives, and then they're like quickly humbled within the first few years of marriage. I just feel like that actually sets people up for even more pain and heartbreak, because society and just like our families have raised us to glorify marriage or to see it as like our end all be all purpose in life. And when you are disappointed by that, you just, it leaves you lost and broken and confused. Yes, there's still a part of me that like yearns for it. I do feel lonely every once in a while, but I know that I'm better off alone. And I'm more so in the mindset of like, if it happens, it happens, but it'd have to be like the most ideal situations. Otherwise, I just don't think that it's worth the time and effort and pain. Not to mention, in marriage, a lot of women's needs and their how can I say this without pissing people off? Their desires are very rarely met. There's that aspect of it that actually leaves women feeling very frustrated. And then when they're not satisfied in their marriages, a lot of times the men will then go seek out other women because they can't satisfy their wife. Like, I just can't. Why would I put myself through that? I've seen far too many marriages that have failed, or if they haven't entirely fallen apart, they leave, at least the woman for sure, just feeling so broken and regretful of even getting into the marriage in the first place. Like, most of our moms and aunts and everybody, they're miserable in their marriages and they regret marrying the men that they married. So part of it is also just like the fact that they didn't choose well, but like, that's the reality for most women. Man, the sheikhs are gonna come for my neck.
I would say this and I would say this again. There is no need to get married or stay in a marriage where you are not finding happiness, you're not being fulfilled, you and your partner's goals are not aligning. There's no need to stay in a marriage where you feel miserable, you feel ill-treated, you feel not loved, you feel neglected. There's no need to stay there. It's understandable if your partner is listening and ready to make these things work out or put an effort or make an attempt for it to work out. But in scenarios or situations where they are not willing, there's no need to stay there. You might as well just remain a single woman, because what's the essence of getting married and your wants, your needs are being neglected? I mean, if you're single, these are things you can still do for yourself. So why stay in a marriage where you have to give so much and your needs, your wants are being neglected? This is just my thoughts, but I don't know what you guys think. Feel free to put your thoughts in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye for now.